Realm and Commonwealth, a white paper. Copyright 2018 Stephen Spiers. This white paper has been put together out of many years' worth of research on the Commonwealth of Australia and the issues with the legal systems of the state and federal court systems within that Commonwealth of Australia. Although this is free for you to read, the effort taken to produce this white paper has been quite difficult at times. You may reproduce parts of this document. It is free for you to read, although is under copyright to the author Stephen Spiers. Should you wish to publish, make profit from, or otherwise use in a commercial sense any of the material herein, please consider the author. The material herein is posed in question under the Crimes Act 1914, Section 24F, and all material used herein has been collated for the purpose of clarifying the question posed. Some of the images used herein may or may not fall under copyright. Their use outside of this white paper may see infringements of rights take place, including use of images supplied by the author. This white paper has been put together to discover and pose questions relative to the Imperial Crown and the birthright of the people of the Commonwealth of Australia. Dear reader, many of you would have heard of my research. Many of you would have followed as I went through a process of discovery, although were unable to put the pieces of the puzzle together from an outside position, just trying to keep tabs on what was going on. This is why this white paper has been put together for the benefit of all Australians to know the truth of their past history, instead of that just glossed over by education departments across the country. Some of what you are about to read will shock you. Much of it might need to be read several times before it is comprehended. However, it is knowledge that should be known by all. That is why you have been gifted this research in its complete free form to read. From my perspective, it is a must-know ground point from which to base investigation getting to the root core of authority in oaths of allegiance and great seals of the realms. It is understood that most of you are not lawyers or politicians and barely get to touch the surface of how justice departments and governments come about in the first place, how they run, and most importantly, where they base their authority. The general reader has been taken into consideration, attempting to step the reader through knowledge to build up to comprehending the bigger picture of the Commonwealth of Australia in an international world. Most of the population would never have considered a birthright in their nation, let alone how authority comes to be in the first place. They grow up with the facade that is the Australian government, giving them a nationality. Meanwhile, the governments take from the population in doing that. Over the years that I have been studying the change, not only the political landscape, but also the judicial has been rather drastic. The general population notices it in their inability to save for the future, their living standards decreasing as the cost of everything increases. Anti-terrorism laws are installed and police begin to wear military hardware on the streets like it is normal. There has been an unsettling feeling among Australians as police forces throughout the states increase in their revenue raising and councils start increasing fees and rates in a ploy to take your land in unpaid notices. The services being provided to you becoming less and less world-class as they are privatised for profits with little care about product value served to you. If you have seen the suffering that I have whilst travelling around the country, then you too would have stood up and attempted to find out what the problem was. When it becomes difficult to keep services connected, and the choice between paying for electricity bill or doing the food shopping becomes the equation, where have we come to as a nation? The politicians all make promises, and the houses change from Liberal to Labor with minor looks in from other parties, yet nothing in the country changes. We actually see the reverse, with Julie Bishop continuously giving money away to countries in need, neglecting the need of the people at home. Something must be done to change the future for Australians. The amount of people that have asked questions built over time, and it was soon realized that no one else was doing the kind of research that I had been doing. The straw man had become the popular argument, along with the Commonwealth being an American corporation. But no one paid attention to the claims of bankruptcy of not only the Commonwealth of Australia, but the United States as well. As a former British colony step in line with the United States, a change of power from the 19th century into the 20th century saw Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United States all step in line with each other, not forward but backwards. Poverty and police force had become the norms in these countries, and the people started to puzzle why the government was taking so much liberty to do what it wanted. We have stepped forward from becoming a commonwealth, divided from a kingdom, and changed into a nation state, the latter being done through secret meetings behind closed doors away from the people. And given what has been discovered, it is no wonder why. Previous changes throughout Versailles, the League of Nations, imperial conferences, and more were all open knowledge, published in newspapers and discussed by the people. Yet here we have change by stealth. Some would say a complete usurpation of the line of authority. This is an incomplete work, becoming only the beginning of a saga that is worthy of a movie reel. The purpose of this paper is not, however, to spin a story, but to provide evidence in a manner that is easy for the general reader to take in. Given a history many barely learn, that fades as a new history is written, the reader isn't expected to know what is presented here. You may disregard it as another conspiracy theory, but I implore you to have a read and be pleasantly surprised that the amount of physical evidence surrounding this paper is interesting in its own right. From documents out of secret meetings with Queen Elizabeth II and Gough Whitlam in April 1973, through to documents related to the issue of the Commonwealth of Australia's coat of arms, there is something of interest for everybody within. As you read through, you will also notice that a minimal amount of legislation is used to back up what is being shown, although at a practical level, the Parliament, whether it be Australian Government or de jure Parliament of the Commonwealth of Australia, is lower than what has been changed on you. That then enforced changes on you behind your backs. I would like to thank those that read and gave feedback on this white paper. It has been a large effort to produce, with the collation of so much evidence in image form, as well as the snippets of legislation, treaties, and imperial documents. The culmination of 8 years' worth of work, this white paper forms the base foundation of knowledge that has been gathered together in that time. My hope is that all and sundry discover what is shown here, and that the Governor-General of Australia, under Great Seal of Australia and the oath of allegiance to Queen Elizabeth II, under the realms of the St. Edward's Crown, be given opportunity to read what is presented here, along with any office of Australia so appointed by oath linked to the Governor-General, and be given opportunity to respond as to what has happened to the oath of allegiance to an entire people. If I can leave a little knowledge that is shared, and if others wish to rebut the claims made herein, or provide information unknown that shows the contrary, then a dialogue has been started in the correct direction towards remedy for the Commonwealth of Australia. I hope you find the information within this white paper not only interesting, but informative and useful in making your own conclusions as to the state of affairs that we have to live by every day. You have my blessing to read and share free. You may take excerpts and quote my work. Although the images contained herein are only provided as an educational, investigative, and news reporting capacity, please consider copyright when using images contained in this work. This work forms a large chunk of my research in a readable manner for the general reader. This work is designed to give you the ability to double-check the research provided and further your own research, and hopefully awaken you from the slumber of politics to look at a higher realm. I hope this work is well received and that you can benefit from the research provided within. Lots of love, Steve.